Hey guys, this is Carrie, and in this video we're doing the answer key for homework number 7, unit 11. So draw the reference triangles below. I think you guys know how to do that, so I'm going to skip it. For problem number 2, let theta equal a negative 245 degree angle, which of the following statements is true. Because theta is a negative angle, we're going to be moving clockwise. So we'll start with our starting side on the x-axis and we rotate clockwise. So this would be negative 90. This would be negative 180, this would be negative 270, and this would be negative 360, also known as 0. So negative 245 is going to be between negative 180 and 270, which puts us in the second quadrant. For this question, though, rather than think about the quadrants with their numbers, we should think about them by using the letter mnemonic. So all students take calculus. Only sign will be positive in this quadrant. Determine the exact value of cosine 225. So exact value means that we should express our final answer as a fraction or as a fraction that possibly involves square roots, so instead of a decimal. So cosine of 225, a 225 degree angle is going to be rotating from the x-axis counterclockwise 90, 180, here's around 225. Next up, finding the cosine of this big old angle is going to be difficult, so rather than look at that big angle, let's look at the reference angle instead. So the reference angle is going to be the smaller acute angle between the terminal side and the x-axis. So in this case, alpha is here, so visually it looks like to calculate alpha we should do 225 minus the top semicircle, 180. Which leaves us with 45, which is a nice thing to see. So we know that cosine of theta is going to be approximately the same thing as cosine of 45 degrees. We'll see what adjustments we have to make at the very end, but cosine of 45, you know from your reference triangle, it should be here, is 1 over root 2. Now finally, if we want to find cosine of 225 instead, the thought process we need to have is, depending on the quadrant, this might be positive or negative. Because it's not in the cosine quadrant, the cosine value will be negative. All right, so I'm going to leave you guys to do problem number 4 because it's very similar to the one we just reviewed. For problem number 5, fill in the chart below. So today in class, we calculated all of these values by doing quite a bit of work. By looking at, well, if we want a 0 degree angle, then we go a distance r in that direction. The coordinates of that point are 0, or actually it was, in this case, r and 0. And we looked at the trig ratios as y over r, x over r, y over x, but we don't actually have to do any of that. We can just use our notes from class. I'm going to be showing you a better way to remember this chart tomorrow in class, but if you use your notes, you'll get the right answer. So I have it memorized. Sine of 0 is 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0. And then for these cosine values, you should be able to look these up in your chart from class, so I'll leave those blank for you to find. For problem number 6, we start to talk about radians. So how many radians are in a full circle? Well, to get all the way around a circle, it takes 2 pi times the radius, which is the circumference formula. And so there are 2 pi radians in a full circle. So 2 pi is equal to 360 degrees. How many radians are in a semicircle? Well, if a full circle is 2 pi radians, a semicircle will be half so much, which is pi. So pi radians is the same thing as 180 degrees. Now using these key facts, we can figure out the answers to these questions below. For pi over 3, we just saw that pi radians is 180 degrees. So we have a 180 degree angle divided by 3, which will be a 60 degree angle. Hi, yeah, I'm doing a video. Next we've got 5 pi over 3 radians. So pi over 3 is 60 degrees. From the previous question, we've got 5 times as much, which results in 300 degrees. For pi over 4, we have to go back to the beginning here. Pi radians is 180 degrees. If you use your calculator, you'll see that 180 divided into 4 pieces leaves you with 45 degrees. And if we have 3 pi over 4, well, from the previous problem, we saw that pi over 4 is 45 degrees. So we've got 3 times 45 degrees. which is 135 degrees. Now the next problem is a little bit challenging, and I'll give you a couple of answers, but I don't want to explain too much how I got it, because I think that it's pretty enjoyable to figure this out yourself. So 2 pi, pi, pi over 3, and 2 pi over 3, and I'll leave the last ones for you to find. Perhaps figuring out a connection between these two would be really helpful. I hope you found this video helpful. See you in class tomorrow.